Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Force here. In today's deck spotlight, we will be taking a look at the Miracle Rogue deck. This is a deck that was posted on Hearthstone by Apollo with credit given to Travis. The deck relies on low casting cost spells with combos such as Cold Blood and Eviscerate to trigger creatures that pump off of playing those cards like Questing Adventurer and Mana Addict, and then finally you get some card advantage in here through Novice Engineer and Gadgetzan Auctioneer. Let's go ahead and hop into a game and take a look at the deck in action.
Valera versus Uther.
Now this is a deck that is very much so all about setting up for a combo. The main idea is that you're playing a lot of low casting cost spells to pump up cards like the Mana Addict here or the Questing Adventurer that you see. Now I do have both of these in my opening hand, so I think we're going to keep this. I'd like to dump the Eviscerate though and hope for a 0 casting cost spell. And I ended up getting a 1 casting cost spell in the Sinister Strike. So there's a lot of spells that cost 1, 2, or 0 even, such as the Cold Blood. This is 1 casting, Sinister Strike is 1 casting. And the idea here is that we're setting up to, in a single turn, well, we're going to play the Mana Addict early, because this is an early threat the opponent has to deal with. You can save it for late game to pump it up, but it's more you want to get it in early, have them deal with it, and then be able to drop down your big bad boys like the Questing Adventurer or the Edwin VanCleef with huge combos on him. So we're going to pop the Mana Addict down for now. But beyond that, we're just waiting for our combo. We're going to fill up our hand. There's lots of card draw advantage you can get through the Novice Engineer, coupled with Shadowstep. Is actually a hilarious combo where you play the Novice Engineer, you cast Shadowstep for 0, which returns it to your hand and makes it 2 less to cost, and then you can play it again for free. That's 2 card draws in a single turn, plus 3 card plays, which would pump up the Questing Adventurer 3 times if you actually pull off that combo. It is rather hilarious. Okay, so we've got a few things right now that we could do. I can pump her up for the turn to bypass, to kill the taunt. And I could keep her permanently pumped up with the Cold Blood as well, which is really going to make him have to deal with it next turn. So I think how we're going to do this actually, let me think here. I think we're going to go, or you know what, I could... Oh boy, the Questing Adventurer I kind of want to play first. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go Questing Adventurer first. We're going to drop down a Preparation to make my next spell cast 2 less. It's going to pump up both of them. He gets permanently pumped up. She's pumped up for the turn. And then I'm going to give her a permanent Cold Blood, which is +4 because it just triggered the combo. So now I can easily kill this. She's going to keep her +4 permanently. He also keeps his +4/+4 permanently. And then she drops her plus turn attacks. But next turn, I'm going to be able to drop both of these. And if he doesn't play another taunt, he's going to get hit very, very hard next turn. So we'll have to see what he gets this turn. He's got a 4 cast coming through. Looks like it's going to be 3 damage directly to the Mana Addict. Okay, so that is sort of what I explained, where she's the big threat that they tried to deal with early on. But now we still have him in play. And I did just pull the Edwin VanCleef. I don't know that I necessarily want to drop him right now. This is actually much more aggressive and early of a play than I would typically do. But I think we're just going to go with it. We're going to go ahead and Sinister Strike him for 3. We're going to go ahead and give him a Cold Blood, which will pump him up for playing it, and then pump him up for the Cold Blood. And then we're going to... Oh, yeah. We're just going to go for the 10 right there. Just like that. Just like that, we've got a 10-6 in play that he has to deal with. Now, the Edwin VanCleef, it would have been good to combo all of that stuff with him. Playing 2 cards would have made him a 5/5 with Stealth. Unfortunately, I was 1 crystal short. And I also definitely should have a hit with this thing as well. He's gonna push through, get my Questing Adventurer down a little bit. We've got our Preparation that we could toss down just for the sake of pumping him up. I'm gonna hold on to it though. We're just gonna give ourselves a dagger. Hit for 10, 6, right there. It could have been, he could have had that damage last turn and he could technically be down to 4 right now had I hit last turn. But unfortunately I didn't, and I had those 2 crystals sitting there, so that was an obvious mistake there. Nevertheless, alright, there's the Consecration, which is going to drop my Questing Adventurer. However, I still have my dagger in play here. We still have our Edwin VanCleef, which we could play at any time. And let's see, we can go for... I could play both of those. I could hit for 2. Or I can drop him with a, which would make him a 5/5 with both of these through. For now, I'm just going to hit for 2, I think. And then I'm just gonna hold on to those. And we'll see what he plays. So the biggest threat to this deck is taunt creatures or individual creature removal. Now you deal with the individual creature removal because there's lots of ways to stealth. Edwin VanCleef comes into play with stealth, but the other thing is Edwin VanCleef also, or there's also Conceal, which will give your creatures spells, give your creatures stealth. Okay, so I can actually technically play all of this. And so I think that is what we're going to do. So what we're going to do... Yeah, we're gonna go Questing Adventurer first, and then we do Preparation to play Sap for free. We sap his creature back to his hand, and then we play Edwin, triggered off of all those spells we just played, which makes him a Stealth with 7/7. This is, again, a much more aggressive game than I typically play. Typically, I'm waiting out a little bit longer before I'm dropping my combos, and the combos come out a little bit stronger. Like normally I'm sitting with creatures that are 10/10 plus, you know. I've played in a single turn in Edwin VanCleef that was like a 17/17. I mean, it can be pretty silly. And the combos, the card draw combos through Novice Engineer and Shadowstep, as well as Gadgetzan Auctioneer, which triggers every time you play a spell and lets you draw a card. You can imagine how amazing that is with the 0 casts that I've got in this deck, or the 1 or 2 casts that I've got in this deck. You can mill through your entire deck easily in a single game with this particular Miracle Rogue deck. And I'm guessing that he doesn't have anything to deal with the impending death because he would probably be playing it by now. Well, he can't target that because of the stealth, so he needs to play his taunt. I can kill his taunt with my 5/5 plus a dagger, because I think was it a 6/5 or a 5/6? It's a 6/5, so I can kill him with my 5/5 unless he can kill that. He's going to change his attack to 1. Okay, so I can't, at the moment, get through unless I draw into something that allows me to get through. We've got a Backstab, which will pump that up 2. So it's going to be 3, 4, 5. I think that's enough. I think this is, yep, that's going to pump him up.
Quest accepted.
And then we go like this. And then we go like this. And then we swing for the win. So that is an example of how the Miracle Rogue deck works. Again, a little more aggressive than I typically play it, but I'd like to show you another game just to hopefully show off some of the additional combos.
Valera versus Anduin.
The light shall bring victory.
Okay, so I'm hoping that this particular game actually goes a little bit differently. I don't want to be dumping this stuff out so early in the game, and this is a rather interesting hand to take. Let me think about this here. Yeah, I'll keep it. It's really nice to have both of those guys in one opening hand. You could argue just to go down to 1, though, to pick up more spells, you know? But what I'm going to do in this game is this will be a waiting game. This will be a game where I'm not going to be quite as super aggressive. I'm going to wait to fill up my hand so that I can dump these guys out and make them very huge. One big part about playing this deck is the timing. You want to make sure that you're playing your cards at the right time so that you know you're going to be able to get a kill. And that's probably an example of why last game wasn't an ideal way to play it. So we're going to go ahead and drop down the dagger. We will swing him for 1, and then we'll pass the turn. So we've got the Preparation, which makes our next spell cast nothing. So we can, like, technically, if you think about this, in turn 4, we could go Questing Adventurer, Shiv, Preparation, Backstab. Questing Adventurer gets pumped up 3 times from that. There's also a Shadowstep, which is hilarious with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, like I mentioned earlier, how that combo would work. So we're not going to play these because we want to play these coupled with all our other cards, and we really can't afford that at the moment, so we're just going to pump up our dagger and swing for 2. Were he playing, for example, small casting cost creatures, I might want to pick them off depending on how strong they are, how threatening they are, or just deal them, you know. It's not ideal, but if you're dealing with threats that you know you need to eliminate sooner than later, you can spend your spells before you're going for your super combos to pump up your creatures. You don't have to hold on to everything permanently. But right now I am holding on to this stuff because he's got tricks up his sleeve too. He's holding on to stuff as well. So I'm gonna call his bluff. I'm gonna wait for him to throw down stuff. Plus I wanna wait to ideally get a lot of this stuff in play, plus a VanCleef, and even more ideally would be a Questing Adventurer and a VanCleef in the same turn, but I have to wait till after turn 6 to do these, so. And this deck is especially hilarious when you go second and you get the coin. As you can imagine, because the coin counts as a spell, it becomes especially hilarious at that point. Alright, so we get 3. Let's take a look at my hand. He just keeps healing himself through it anyways. We've got 3, 6, 7, 8. So we're not quite at the point where we need to start dumping stuff, so we're not going to. And I like to draw into a Conceal as well, because if I draw into a Conceal, I can keep my questing adventurer safe. Let's take a look at his hand too. He's sitting on 10, so he is going to have to start playing stuff at some point. Because once you're over 10 cards, you start taking fatigue damage from trying to draw. Or, no, you start losing the cards. The cards that you play actually don't. They don't get into your hand. So, okay. So there's a Conceal. So now might be a good time to. This is a tough call, to be honest with you, because I want to trigger the VanCleef. Because he would be hilarious. You know what? All he's got right now, 1, 2, 3, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm only sitting at 9, so I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna wait one more turn. I want as many mana crystals as possible. Again, unfortunately, I don't have the coin here to do ideally what I like to do, but.
Here comes the pain.
There's another creature of his. It's gonna give it +3 health. Good for him. Alright, so I think next turn is going to be the turn. It's gonna have to be. I'm gonna be sitting at a lot of stuff anyways.
One shot, one kill.
He's gonna do damage to that to pump it up. That's fine. I'm still at 29. He's got 1 taunt in play, which I can deal with. And here we go. Okay. So it's going to be Questing Adventurer. And then I need to play as many stuff as possible before. Let's drop the Conceal on him. Let's drop the. I probably want to put that on. No, I want to get as many stuff as possible, and so we're gonna drop the Cold Blood on him. And then what we do is we need our 3, so we're going to do a preparation, which will make the next thing cost 0, and with that 0, we're going to trigger a Eviscerate to deal 4 damage to him. And then now we play our VanCleef, and he gets pumped up for everything that we've played so far. So now this is what I have in play, an 11-7 and an 11-11, both of them right now with stealth, so the only thing that he could do to them in his turn is mass damage. AoE damage, essentially. And he will be swung with this next turn. Now, unfortunately, well, actually I can deal with the taunt, so unless he gets another taunt, he is going to get hit with all of this, and it is going to be fatal damage. So he needs another taunt right now to not take fatal damage this turn. And he is not getting another taunt, so he will take fatal damage this turn. I'm going to Shiv plus hit that with a dagger, or I guess I could just pump up the dagger and then hit him with that. He is dead next turn. This is this deck waiting it out and then getting fatal damage in a single turn. This is exactly what you just saw, and this is sort of, again, I said I played last game a little too aggressively. That's why, because I'm supposed to be sort of waiting it out for this stuff. So here we go. Pump up the dagger, kill the taunt, and then we're going straight for his face. It is going to be Shiv to him. Cast of Preparation. All this stuff keeps pumping up my Questing Adventurer. 3 damage to him. Cast a Headcrack. Cast a Conceal. And here is the win. Yeah, that is the Miracle Rogue deck in full swing, in action. Fatal damage in 1 turn is what it's all about. So you just saw the deck in action, now I'd like to show you the deck list. Unfortunately, in the example games that I showed you, you didn't get to see the crazy comboing with the Gadgetzan Auctioneer, but just think about it. You saw how many spells I can play in a single turn. Gadgetzan Auctioneer, every time you cast a spell, you draw a card. That is absurd with all of the 0 cast, 2 Backstab, 2 Conceal, 2 Preparation, 2 Shadowstep, plus I've got 1 cast in the Coldblood, Shiv, and Sinister Strike. There have been games where around I'd play the Gadgetzan Auctioneer at turn like 5 or 6, and then next turn, I drew through pretty much my entire deck. I mean, it's ridiculous. And if you do all that with a Questing Adventurer in play, not only you keep drawing cards, you keep drawing more 0 casts, which you can keep playing, which allows you to keep drawing. The Questing Adventurer keeps getting bigger and bigger, and then you just drop a Conceal and give him Stealth, and then you hit your opponent next turn. The biggest threat to this deck is direct creature removal, which you can bypass with the Conceals for giving your creature stealth, as well as obviously your Edwin VanCleef bypasses that because he has stealth in and of himself. And then the other thing though is taunt creatures, but you can deal with the taunt creatures with Sap. You can deal with the taunt creatures with direct damage like Eviscerate and Shiv and Backstab. So you've got ways to deal with the major threats to this deck. Again, direct creature targeting and creature removal. Now AoE damage can still hit creatures that are stealthed. However, your creatures, you typically have like 10 plus toughness, so that's not that likely to happen. All right, so the deck list is 2 Backstabs, 2 Conceals, 2 Preparations, 2 Shadowsteps, 2 Coldbloods, 2 Shivs, 2 Sinister Strikes, 2 Eviscerates, 2 Headcracks. Headcrack is hilarious, by the way. If the games continue to go on, this thing keeps coming back to your hand every time, at the end of every turn, or at the beginning of the next turn, whenever it's comboed. And you've got so many spells and creatures, it's always going to get comboed. The Sap to remove super threats. I've got one of the Blood Mages here. The extra spell power is not bad, plus the Death Rattle is to draw a card, which is really good. The Mana Addict as an early threat. Novice Engineer. Let me just show you this combo that I kept talking about, but you didn't get to see in action. Turn 2, if you want to, or you could wait to do it with a combo to pump up a Questing Adventurer. Let's say turn 2, you play a Novice Engineer, and then what you do is for 0, you Shadowstep it, which returns it to your hand and makes it 2 less to cast, and then you play a Novice Engineer again. So that's turn 2, you draw 2 cards, or if you hold out and use it with a Questing Adventurer, that is 3 spells, the first Novice, the Shadowstep, and then the second Novice to pump up your Questing Adventurer, or for an Edwin VanCleef. It's crazy combo, you get card draws, all that wonderful stuff. And yeah, this deck is a lot of fun. It's a very techy deck. It's relying on setting up these combos, and it's just, I think it's a fantastic deck. So once again, thanks so much for watching, guys. This has been Force taking a look at the Miracle Rogue deck. I definitely think it's worth giving a shot if you want a much different play style than Hearthstone typically plays. This is actually really quite enjoyable. All right, thanks so much for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. And as always, keep watching and keep owning.